Welcome back to Shemsuniverse. So today, guys, we're going to discuss the Chaldean name number 2 and all of its compound numbers associated with it. So as I discussed before, the number 1, there's different compound numbers that do associate with each singular digit number. So with the number 2, most of them are going to vibrate with the number 11, which is considered a master number in the Western numerology. In the Eastern, it's also considered a master number, but it just has a very different definition. So this video will just be very enlightening with how the Eastern people have sort of viewed the number 2 in comparison to how we viewed it here in the West. So with the number 2, it's represented by the celestial body of the moon. The moon is considered to be very psychic, intuitive, imaginative. It controls the subconscious mind, the dark parts of our brain, the shadow side. People that are represented by the number 2 as a name number are typically people who they want to be viewed as tough, physically robust, and so forth, but they're not typically. The thing is, the number 2 person is somebody who's very, very creative. They're very artistically gifted. They're very much able to be in cooperation with other people. They're great at diplomacy. But when it comes to being viewed in a certain stature, like to not be taken advantage of or to be that number 1, they don't have it. However, the number 2 is a very powerful feminine energy that's like the oak tree that bends but does not break. The number 1, not to insult the number 1, will break. The number 1 person will have a lot of willpower and will try to run through everything, but if they meet enough opposition along that way, the number 1 person can potentially break. I mean, it's very rare, but it could happen. The number 2 is somebody who is used to having to be in like more of a submissive position when it comes to maybe authoritarian people around them, or they have to just be more understanding of people maybe that are disabled or what have you. But they're able to adapt to situations, and that's the whole point of the feminine. The masculine is considered the fire, the feminine is considered the water. The water adapts and changes based on the element that it's in. It can change to ice if it's cold. If it's too hot, it can also change to the air itself, and that provides moisture to the air. So these number 2 people are very much able to adapt to whatever climate that they're in, and this is what makes them so powerful. So let's begin. So the first compound number that you can have here is the 11. So if your name, remember I'm talking about the name that you go by the most. Like I said in the other video, my name is Shem Roy. I always go by Shem. That vibrates to 17, so I know that my name number is 17. If your name vibrates to the 11, that means you have a master number as your name, and that's a very big deal. This is literally the symbolism of the lion muzzle. This associates with tarot card readings as well. So this means that you're somebody who is very highly creative. You have a special creative potency that can be used for artistic gifts, political or humanitarian reasons, and you're somebody who is able to have psychic or clairvoyant dreams. Your intuition is something that you need to trust. If you don't, you're going to lose. But you need to be very wary of treachery among other people. Because of the base vibration of the number 2 with the 11, a lot of people take advantage of the person that has this number because they usually very often suffer from like stress and anxiety, and as a result, people can make them kind of doubt themselves. So my, I guess, solution to that would be to be very sure of yourself, have that confidence, and when you have a gut feeling that doesn't even correspond with your brain, but you have a sort of an intuition or a sixth sense, trust that even if your brain's telling you to do something, because your feelings are going to mean a lot, and they have more potency and more power than your thought process. And this is going to lead you to having a very successful career, and also being able to judge people in the correct sort of way. The next one that I want to cover would be the number 20. The number 20 is 2 and then 0 next to it. So the 0 amplifies the number 2 and then makes it very, very powerful. Like I was saying, the number 10 in the number 1 video. The 2 is somebody who is able to be very, very receptive, but in an amplified way because, of course, it's 20. So these people are able to, they're sort of like what they call the judgment call in Chaldean numerology. They want to be able to make a very great change in society as a whole before they die. So these people can either be used for good or evil, meaning the number 2 person, if they have a very bad upbringing and they have the name number of 20, they can essentially make a worldwide change that's bad. Somebody that had this was Adolf Hitler, who had the 20 vibration but used it for evil instead of good, but they were still very influential. Like I said, like with the Vladimir Putin thing I brought up in the number 1 video, I'm not praising these people. I'm not saying that they're good people in any sort of way, but I'm just explaining the facts to you guys, that this is where the power is seen and it's most, it has the most notoriety. So with Hitler, the number 20 was very much used by him, and he was able to transform reality as it was to something very, very different, something very evil, very ugly. But you can also use it for humanitarian reasons, for peacekeeping, for environmentalist movements, and people that have the number 2020 tend to want to like do these type of things. They want to make a very great change in society, but it all depends on just how they choose to do this. If you have the number 20, focus on what you want, but also be very pragmatic and realistic with your expectations. The number 2 also can suffer from a lot of illusions and just kind of be in a bit of a fantasy world and what they can do during this reality. So you just want to make sure that you are following a good set of thought process to the point where you're saying, I'm combining what my spiritual self is saying to do with the physical, logical self as well, making sure that you're able to transform your mind, your mindset, that reality that you have that's ingrained in your brain, to a physical reality that's sort of like a similar symmetrical thing. If you're unable to do this, if you say that, if you actually genuinely believe that what you're trying to do cannot be done, maybe ask for help, maybe work in cooperation with a mastermind group of some sort. But if you're having an intuition or a feeling that you need to be awakened, that you need to do something that's going to benefit the earth or make a very great change in your given community, you definitely have the power to do this with this number. But oftentimes you just need a team in order to get this done. The next one is the number 29. This is the 11 on steroids. The number 29 in Chaldean numerology, they very much consider this to be like the evil version of the number 11. The reason being is 2 and 9 are inimical to each other. The number 2 is the moon. The number 9 is Mars. As we know from astrology, guys, if you don't, it doesn't matter. Moon and Mars are just very fierce rivals. So when it adds up to the 11 that corresponds to 2, this means that this is a person that can be very much warlike because of the number 9. They have the psychic abilities of the number 2, and they have the master number benefits of the number 11. So the people that have this are able to master mind and body. They're very much able to have a lot of control with their mind over their body. They could become martial art masters, people that do like a lot of amazing athletics, or people that are just simply able to sort of just go into a place, a job, or any occupation that they're doing and do it better than other people. They become very gifted in what they obsess over. I guess the con with the 29 is, like I said, they could be influenced by whatever they're around. They're similar to the water in that way. So if you bring a name number 29 person around a lot of bad people, they'll get just as bad. You put them in jail, they'll become the worst person in jail. You put them in a great place like a Wall Street brokerage, they'll become the best person on Wall Street. And that's the whole thing with the 29. So if you have this name number, be very careful of what you surround yourself with. You guys will be the ultimate example of your friends are going to determine your destiny. Your network is actually going to determine what you're going to be, because you're going to become one and with alignment with the said amount of people that you're around. So just be very wary of that, be cautious, and make sure that the right people are in your life, and don't make the wrong people infiltrate your mindset. But it can be a very great number. There are a lot of people that do have this name number that end up doing a lot of great things. With Chaldean numerology, they try to say that you should get involved in the judicial system just because you guys have a tendency to get around evil people inevitably. So if you became something like a police officer, a military personnel, or a lawyer, your sort of destiny will shine that way because you're on the right side of the law. But what you attract, you're just around due to your job. So if you're a soldier, you'd be around like terrorists, or you're going across the sea to do whatever. If you're a lawyer, you're going to be around a lot of different criminals, or you might be mitigating situations between like divorcing couples or contractual law. All of those things still fall under it, but it will bring a lot of benefit to you. Okay. The next one is the number 38 that falls under the number 2 spectrum, which is also an 11 again. The number 38 is interesting. It's because it has the number 3 there, which is a lot about creativity, Jupiter. You get the number 8, which is Saturn, darkness, a lot of restriction. So this brings forth a lot of people that have a bit of a negative childhood that inspires them to get rich. Obviously, this adds to 11, so it amplifies that need to get money, that need to be creative, that need to be seen. Jupiter's a very expansive planet. When it's represented by the 3, it means that they want to be very much seen what they do. For you guys, unlike the 29, you guys are more so business oriented. You guys really want to make a mark in the business world and be known as economically successful. If you can use that to your advantage, meaning make the negative turn to a positive, you're on the right track. But if you can't do that, you're going to run into different situations where you're just getting in trouble with the law. You're going to obviously be in a very submissive or subservient position throughout your life through family and friends. Maybe you're living with them and you just can't get the right thing going for you. So if I had the name number 38, I'd focus primarily on making sure that I have a proper entrepreneurial business that I can execute, or a business where I'm in tandem in partnerships with other people. so that I can then become successful. But economic success, if you're a 38 over 11, should be of primary focus to you. Last but not least, we have the number 47. This one is probably the least good one in the 2 spectrum for Chaldean numerology. The reason being is the number 4 is Rahu, the number 7 is Ketu. I've said the story before where the gods separate these guys for breaking the rules and trying to become gods themselves, and Rahu is the head and Ketu is the tail of the snake, and it's a demon god that causes the eclipses. The problem here is that one head, meaning the Rahu, is responsible for logic and intuition and intelligence and so forth. Not intuition, excuse me, but just intelligence. The number 7 is about faith, intuition, and belief, and looking at the non-material aspects of life. Because of this, you're not going to be sure what to believe in, even though you're an 11 person. You're going to be failing to follow your logic at all times, and you're going to doubt your own intuition and your own faith in something that's bigger than yourself, something that might be in a spiritual essence. As a result, you guys end up running into a lot of problems. People might view you as being a little bit of a social outcast. You might feel lonely in your life. You might be somebody who just can't seem to fit into the proper social circle. My advice to you guys is either adjust your name so it vibrates to something else, or if you want to use this, figure out a very creative outlet that you can do, or a business of some sort that you can do by yourself. Because in the social dynamics, you're not going to be able to get along with other people in the correct way, and as a result, it would just lead to more and more dilemmas and sort of like a reiterating cycle where you're going through the same thing again and again with different sets of people in different environments. If you want to mitigate this, all you have to do is find your own business, or if not, get a job that's going to mostly demand that you're by yourself, like trucking and different trades demand that, or even something in like the medical field where you're just mostly like a doctor or what have you. You just mostly are your own boss, you do your own thing. That can work for you guys. Another piece of advice is follow your intuition. Your logic is going to say a lot. They call the logic with the 4 called Maya. It's the illusion of the material realm, and you guys openly will just focus more on your material goals and not follow what your gut feeling is. Ironically, the gut feeling is what's going to lead you guys to success. So my recommendation would be to follow that gut feeling, and in turn, you're going to have a lot of mental fortitude, a lot of wisdom, and you're going to end up achieving a lot of success by following the symbolism and the symbols that the universe is actually giving you. So my recommendation, if you're a 47 over 11, which divides down to 2, is make sure that you are following your intuition. Make sure you're setting up an independent economic scheme, whether that be a job or a business, and you'll be just fine throughout your life. As long as you guys are okay with having a bit of a social sort of paradox or paradigm where you're not getting along the best with people, this can work for you. Another important note before I get going with this video is with the 47 and with 11 as a whole, guys, number 2 even when you simplify it, there's a lot of associations with like disabilities and just having a lot of like a sort of mental anguish. So be sure to follow certain, I guess, recommendations from different numerologists or astrologists when it comes to wearing different gems and lucky colors and so forth, which I'll go over in a future video. That way you'll be able to achieve success. If you're a number 2 base person, meaning you have number 2 as a name number, I'd recommend wearing a lot of white. White or black will work very well for you guys because those are different ends of the spectrum. Especially if you're an 11, wearing white and black will work good. If you're just a straight number 2, then the color white will work very, very well for you. But that should conclude this, guys. If you have any questions whatsoever, just leave it in the comments for me. Aside from that, like, subscribe, holla me. That's it for today, guys. Peace.